So I can already tell that this episode of Kino's Journey is going to have a mixed bag of reactions. Some people are going to enjoy it, where I feel like a lot of people who watched the original Kino's Journey are going to either be disappointed or outright hate it. Now for me, I'm kind of in the middle. I don't love this episode and I don't totally hate it either. The original Kino's Journey had this Colosseum arc, which was 2 episodes long. I think it was like episodes 6 and 7 in the original anime, and it was exactly what we see here, just longer and more kind of fleshed out and built upon. And I think one of the biggest perks to Kino's Journey is how episodic it does feel, how it does go from location to location fairly quickly. They don't stick around for too long, and it isn't more on the action side, it's more on the exploration side, though the Colosseum had a lot of really good points to it. But when I watched the original Kino's Journey, I did feel like it didn't need to be 2 episodes long. It did feel like there was a lot of extra stuff that I don't think was necessarily needed. So when I was in this episode watching, I was like, okay, 1 episode is probably what they're gonna do, and that should be enough. And I come out thinking, both the original and the 2017 version of Kino's Journey, they didn't pace the Colosseum arc as well as I think they need to. I think the Colosseum arc should have been 30 minutes. I think it needed to be 1.5 episodes, not 2 episodes, not 1 episode, because in the original Kino's Journey, there was a lot more fleshing out. Kino goes to like the slums, things like that. There is some minor differences here or there, like when she ultimately wins and she declares that everyone's gonna fight to the death. I believe she says that only the higher ups in this city should be able to fight. If they attack any of the lower citizens, then they're disqualified. I think that's how it goes in the original, so it is a little different, so the motives are a bit different, but they still kind of remain the same. And there also was a bit more talking to the contestants that she was going to fight, so there was some more characterization to the people she was fighting. Whereas in the 2017 version, it is more just kind of like boom, 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 fighting some people, and it is until the final opponent, who was the king's son, who ultimately gets any sort of characterization. So I can understand both sides either liking the more fast-paced style or just outright hating that it isn't, you know, as long as the 2-parter. I think it needed to be about 30 minutes. I think there should have been some more time to talk to the contestants, to have a bit more of her trying to, because in the original it did feel like it was more, she had a tougher time not killing people. That's kind of how I remember it. But even with that said, I thought this was a good episode. It was definitely fast-paced. I mean, there's no denying that. However, I did like the snappiness to it. There is some perks to it, so you don't beat around the bush and you can immediately get back into the swing of things. And after, when she's kind of looking at the water and she's throwing around, you know, the rocks, things like that, I do feel like the Kino stuff and the mentality of why she did everything that she did, I feel like is acceptable myself. But I could understand a lot of the criticism that this episode is going to get and what I have seen overall just online places like that. But I think Kino's Journey is the biggest strength of it is the snappiness location to location, but that shouldn't come at a cost of characterization, which I do think the episode did lack in some ways. However, I think the ending content and everything just wraps up in a very nice package, and the whole carriage driver thing like that, the husband and wife, what ultimately happened to them, ultimately what the wife said to Kino, I think this was still a fun episode. I think visually, it was very nice to see. Like, I think they got the gloominess down really well, the way it was shaded. Like, the last episode, episode 1, I thought was just beautifully done with the lighting, and I think they did the same thing with this episode, just making it, like, much more dusky, like, dirty. It just felt like a very bad place you'd want to live, and I did really enjoy the animation, especially when the bullets were deflecting, things like that. And you also just got a sense of rage in Kino. I think this was a solid episode, but I do think it did come at a cost of some of that characterization, and I don't think either the original or this version did the Colosseum the best that I think it could be. Like, I know the Colosseum is a fan favorite. For me, it was good. I prefer more of the adventure side, so the more marksmanship episodes where it is more action-oriented isn't my cup of tea for this series. However, I do think that if there ever is another Kino's Journey down the line, like a 2025 version of it, I think that they did the Colosseum episode and just made it like 30 minutes long. I think that'd be perfect. You could be able to explore a bit more, get a bit more information on some of the characters that Kino was going up against, and it would do much better. However, with that said, if this is someone's first time watching the Colosseum, I think this overall will be a fine episode for them, and I do think that for many of the people who watched the original Kino's Journey, they're going to be very disappointed that it wasn't 2 episodes and they felt like it was a little rushed, whereas there's going to be a very select handful, like myself, who thought, it is disappointing in some ways, but in other ways, it's nice to have it just be able to move on and go to the next location, at least for myself. And we got introduced to another character, Talking Dog, as well. So that's going to be fun seeing how this series is going to go forward with their characters. But overall, I had a fun time with Kino's Journey. Even though it was a little disappointing in some regards, I still had an overall fun time, and I'm just as excited to watch next week's episode as I was when I finished episode 1 last week. But let me know your thoughts. What did you think of the Colosseum? Are you very disappointed that it wasn't as long as the original, or did you think the more quickness and the one episode format worked better for the Colosseum? Let me know your thoughts. And before you leave, smack that like button to show your support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.